Hi there, these comments are for 1026. I am Michael, your English language program instructor at California State University, San Bernardino. And thank you for doing the integrated writing practice test. So I've read it. I'm getting ready to give you a lesson and go over what you did. But here's where I'm at right now. I scored you at 3.0 out of 5, 20 points out of 30, or 76 out of 100 on this test. Now, what you did is kind of difficult. You're using kind of what's called chunking. You're putting all the information in the reading passage in one paragraph. Then you're putting all the information from the listening in the other paragraph. It's hard to show what the connections are if you do it that way. You got to be really careful on your transitions, right? So that was part of it. It was kind of hard to see how the information in the lecture was disagreeing with the information in the reading passage, right? So let's take a look paragraph by paragraph. You say, nowadays social networks can be said as a leader of society. More and more people become users and addicted to it gradually. The author and the speaker point out how social networks influence the American society. So I think our first change needs to be that paragraph. So I would change your first paragraph so it looks like this. According to the reading passage, the author believes social networks take away face-to-face interaction, create a false sense of friendship, and cause many users to become addicted. However, the speaker in the listening passage casts doubt on each of these claims. All right, let's take a look at your first body paragraph here. So you're including all 3 points from the reading in this paragraph. So you're using what's called a chunking type organization. So in the reading, the author states a social network is a point to make America's society more depressed. In fact, it is in opposition to everything that promote community and sociality. One of the reasons which the author mentions that social networks might create the wrong sense of friendship and community. Moreover, the author says that to build a friendship used to meet the needs over time, discussion, and maybe have a cup of coffee together. Now the chance face-to-face with people is decreased. Therefore, the facial expressions, intonation, sentence rhythm can't be conveyed successfully. But face-to-face is the first idea that's mentioned in the reading. I'm not sure why you're taking so long to get to it. I would have stated that right in the beginning here. So let's keep going. The author's analysis that the intentions may be positive, yet it's become an obsession after they addicted. It not only take people time, but create a depressed society. Okay, so we got to clean this up a lot, right? So the first step is to take each of these key points mentioned in the introduction. We're going to create 3 sentences that mention these 3 points and put these into the paragraph. Then we need to put a detail after each one. Then this second body paragraph is going to look something like this. The author in the reading passage claims that social networks take away from the face-to-face interaction. In addition, the author asserts that social networks create a false sense of friendship among its users. Maybe I should say here, among their users. Finally, social networks, according to the author, cause users to become addicted. So the next step is, once we have this, we need to put a sentence, a detail after each of these assertions. And then this paragraph is done. And then in the next paragraph, we need to show how the lecture differs from all these ideas. Let's take a look at the third paragraph. Now, in this case, I have to take all 3 ideas that were mentioned about the reading passage and explain them in exactly the same order. And even have to put a lot of voice markers in this paragraph to help acknowledge who is saying what. So this paragraph is going to look like this. On the other hand, the speaker in the lecture disagrees with each of the assertions mentioned in the reading passage. First of all, in response to the idea that social networks eliminate social interaction. The speaker claims that in the past, society used letter writing as a way to communicate. Similarly, the speaker argues that social networks operate in a similar manner. Second of all, although the author believes that social networks have affected friendships negatively, the speaker in the listening passage believes that the traditional places to meet have changed due to the internet. For example, in the past, people used to send letters to meet in diners or drive-in movie theaters to socialize. Now, according to the author, social networks provide a valuable way for people to meet in a modern world. Finally, the speaker rejects the notion that social networks, as the author claims, are addictive. In fact, according to the speaker, social networks, they shape what people do and how long they spend doing it daily. Since social networks are part of what is normal in society, these necessary networks should not be viewed as addictive. Indeed, the author claims those who do not use social networks are the ones who should be considered abnormal, since they refuse to participate in these advanced societal ways of communication. Right? So that's kind of what I would do here. So if you choose chunking is difficult. You chose a difficult way to do this, but if you did it the way that you wanted to do it, you have to be very clear when you get to the listening passage how this information disagrees with the information. And look what happens. When you use chunking, your paragraphs become a lot bigger too. For example, that third paragraph was 220 words. I mean, that's a lot. Had you chose sequencing, you would have had 3 separate paragraphs. You would have had reading point along with listening point 1, then reading point 2 along with listening point 2, then reading point 3 along with listening point 3. Probably would have been a little easier to handle. Let's look at your conclusion. In conclusion, both the author and the speaker analyze, you want to say here, want to use the verb, not the noun. They analyze how different the friendships are built compared to the old and modern society. I'm going to change this. Both the author and the speaker maybe discuss the advantages I would say that captures more of what's happening in this passage. Let's read the practice test one more time. So basically, I took your practice test, which scored 3.0 out of 5 or 20 points out of 30. I rewrote it to show you how you can get 5.5 out of 5 or 30 points out of 30. So my first suggestion for you is don't use the chunking, compare and contrast organization. You cannot handle it. It's too hard for you at this point. Focus on your strengths. It's much easier, I think, to put the reading and the listening point, number 1, in just one paragraph, as opposed to putting all 3 reading points in one paragraph and all 3 listening in another. You weren't able to really show the relationship effectively there. So I think you'll do a better job if you use the sequencing, compare and contrast organization, or the point-by-point organization. So go to Google, right? Okay, so here's your keywords. Using the point-by-point or sequencing, compare and contrast organization in academic writing. Look at that. Get a good outline. See how that works. That's going to be your friend on the final exam. All right? According to the reading passage, the author believes social networks take away face-to-face interaction, create a false sense of friendship, and cause many users to become addicted. However, the speaker in the listening passage casts doubt on each of these claims. The author in the reading passage claimed that social networks take away from the face-to-face, they take away, maybe get rid of this, they take away the face-to-face interaction. In the past, people used to spend time developing and maintaining friendships by doing things together and by talking. The way that the people looked and how they talked to each other was essential toward building the friendships. Now these valuable friendships are being replaced by social networks, argues the author. In addition, the author asserts that social networks create a false sense of friendship among their users in the sense that users simply send pictures and messages to others online. These types of false friendships, reports the author, have defined what it means to be friends negatively. Finally, social networks, according to the author, cause users to become addicted. In fact, the author argues that many users become obsessed with updating their profiles and posting pictures, and that these users are spending a lot of time online instead of building long-lasting friendships with interaction. In fact, these social network activities are causing many users to become less involved with other people in society. How about this? Concludes the author. Now, the problem with this one is, if you're doing this chunking organization, when you get into the listening passage, you actually need to use voice markers from both the lecture and the reading passage. That's important because that helps us understand what the relationship is. On the other hand, the speaker in the lecture disagrees with each of the assertions mentioned in the reading passage. First of all, in response to the idea that social networks eliminate social interaction, the speaker claims that in the past, society used letter writing as a way to communicate. Similarly, the speaker argues that social networks operate in a similar manner. Second of all, although the author believes that social networks have affected friendships negatively, the speaker in the listening passage believes that the traditional places to meet have changed due to the internet. For example, in the past, people used to send letters to meet in diners or drive-in movie theaters to socialize. Now, according to the author, social networks provide a valuable way for people to meet in a modern world. Finally, the speaker rejects the notion that social networks, as the author claims, are addictive. In fact, according to the speaker, social networks shape what people do and how long they spend doing it daily. Since social networks are part of what is normal in society, these necessary networks should not be viewed as addictive. Indeed, the author claims those who do not use social networks are the ones who should be considered abnormal, since we should say these people, not they, since these people refuse to participate in these advanced societal ways of communication. In conclusion, both the author and the speaker discuss the advantages and disadvantages of social networks on society. All right, so in conclusion, right now you have a 76 on this assignment. You don't want that on the final exam. So if you want to use the chunking organization, which you did this time, you need to do a better job, especially in the listening passage, showing how the information in that lecture differs from the information in the reading passage, right? Now, in your own writing, you actually had a lot of grammatical errors. You had a lot of problems with punctuation and word choice, but I didn't really even get to that because I had to restructure your ideas. So the most important thing right now is to restructure, make sure you have a good, coherent organization of your ideas. And once that's good, but that is not good, that's not what worked here. But once that is good and you can do that, then we can start more on the grammatical corrections and all of those things, which I didn't worry about. But remember, those things are also going to cause trouble on your writing score. All right, thank you very much for completing this writing assignment.